All right, joining me now on the podcast, he is the 135-pound champion, undefeated, and I'm sure anxious to get back into boxing. Devin Haney, what's going on, Devin?
Nothing much. Just staying safe. I'm trying to keep myself entertained as much as possible. Last time
So,
you said, last time you said in recess. This time you didn't. So
yes, I mean, all the titles that exist in boxing. It's good to see you back at the full-fledged champion at this point. How are you spending your quarantine time?
well, right now I'm in LA. It was my girlfriend's birthday, so we just had like some of our friends over, and we got an Airbnb and stuff like that. So we're just chilling, just swimming and stuff like that. Trying to make the best out of it, just with my close friends.
As you kind of look ahead to the future, like how in shape are you right now? If 100% is how you feel going into a fight, like what kind of condition percentage wise would you say you're in right now?
I feel about 70%. I've been running. I probably ran Mount Charleston maybe a week and a half ago. Um, I'm training every day. I just haven't been sparring. That's the only thing. So, of course, that's a very important thing in boxing. I haven't been able to spar, but that's the only thing. I've been training every day, running, um, you know, eating healthy, everything. So when it is time to come back, I won't be that far off to fight.
So if Eddie Hearn called you tomorrow and said, Devin, we need you, or we got a date for you in mid-June, would you be able to hit that?
Oh, most definitely,
Mhm.
most definitely, easy.
How's the weight for you nowadays? I mean, you've been making 135, but you've talked about it a lot. It's been a hassle to get there at times. I mean, how do you feel comfortable at this point, still getting down to 135?
What's crazy with this time off, I've got to learn some things about my body that I didn't know. And one thing is that when I was in training 3 times a day, I would do a lot of like weights and a lot of conditioning, and I was putting on muscle mass. So when I had to take time off for due to my injury, I realized that you know I lost a lot of muscle mass, which I gained. I lost weight as well, and I think 135 is going to be easier this time around.
So is it you just stopped lifting as much? Is that the whole thing?
Yeah, I just stopped lifting. Period. I stopped doing conditioning, which of course we're boxers. We don't need that much conditioning. I feel like I was overdoing it a little too much. I'm not a football player. I'm not a bodybuilder or anything like that. I'm a fighter, and we. One thing I can do, and I know how to get in there and fight. That's just something that I have the knowledge of, and you don't need muscles to win fights. Muscles don't win fights. So and I realized that, and I'm happy that I did.
Is this the kind of thing that you think will carry on like throughout your career? Do you think you'll shy away from weightlifting, from here on? Like, you think it's a permanent change?
Definitely, definitely. Just light weights. I feel like I was just overdoing it. I was just trying to, outdo myself each time, which made it to wow, it was like a strongman contest with myself. And now I see, and I made the adjustment, and I feel so much better.
So you had that shoulder injury before this whole pandemic started. How are you feeling physically, and how close are you to 100%?
I feel great. My shoulder is 100% back. I can do everything now. I can spar, train heavy bag, whatever it is. I can do lift weights if I chose to. I can do anything. My shoulder is back. It feels great. Feels like nothing ever happened. So I'm happy with that.
What happened with that injury? Was that an injury that you suffered during your last fight? Was it in the training before your fight? What happened there?
No, I suffered it in the fight. Um, I, early in the fight, I told my corner, I told my dad, my shoulder, something's wrong with my shoulder. He said, just use your jab, and then just keep using your jab, and keep boxing, and then you know I threw it in a round, and it actually came out. And if you watch the fight closely, you'll see that it actually came out, and the back of my shoulder, it was sticking out. You can see it in the back. It's crazy.
Is that the first major injury you've had in your boxing career?
I never had an injury in my life, like
Mm-hmm.
through I played football, basketball, everything. Never had an injury in my life, so it was crazy. But and going through that, like it was like I went into like some type of like depression, like kind of, because just being away from the sport. I'm so used to training. I love being in the gym. I love working out. I love staying ready. So me being able to like I was handicapped, it just like it took a lot out of me for sure.
Mm-hmm. What were those? What was it? A couple of months that you just couldn't do anything?
It was like 3 months.
Mm-hmm. And what were those months like? I mean, how did somebody like you that's been athletic his entire life? I mean, how do you spend that time?
Man, literally just like trying to like sleep it away. To be honest with you, I would just sleep, lay down, watch TV, go back to sleep. Like, because it really wasn't much I could do. I had a cast on, like a brace on, so it was just like it wasn't much I could do.
Mhm. What was it like for you? You're a really competitive guy. People look at you as maybe the most talented young fighter in all of boxing. As you're recovering from that injury, you see whether it's Teofimo, knock out Richard Comey to get a chance to fight Lomachenko down the line, or Ryan Garcia pick up back-to-back knockouts and see his star kind of rise. What was that like for you to kind of have to watch, knowing you couldn't get back in the ring?
Yeah, I mean, I was happy to see because I knew that one day I would be back, but it was actually kind of like, you know, it kind of was even taking more out of me just seeing the guys who are my competitors and rivals, how they were advancing, and it felt like I kind of was staying the same because I couldn't do anything. And you know I didn't know, how my shoulder would react, if it would heal, how it would heal right, how it would feel when it was time to come back. And now that I am back, I feel great and I'm happy with the way that everything worked out. It worked out in my favor. Actually, me being champion and recess through this whole thing was like it was one thing after another, it felt like. But now everything worked out in my favor, and I'm happy with the way that it did.
What was it like when you're able to punch again? And like you just said, you didn't know if your shoulder was going to come back. What was it like to kind of get back in the gym and be able to feel that you were going to get it all back?
Yeah, when I first started, I was like, when I would throw my right hand, I would feel like I wasn't supposed to. I was doing something wrong. Like, no, don't do that because you're not supposed to. Because I had just developed this mindset that to not throw my right hand because I couldn't shadow box. I couldn't do anything. It was I would just literally walk around with it with my arm just still. So when I first it was like it was hard for me to throw it because it just didn't feel right. But then I started to get more more comfortable with throwing it, comfortable with throwing it all the way, and now I'm just throwing it without any problem now.
Hmm. How anxious are you to kind of get back into that mix? I mean, if you look at like 135 pounds and eventually 140, you're there. Teofimo's there. Ryan's there. Gervonta's there. I mean, a lot of just fun matchups that people can talk about. How anxious are you to kind of get that going?
I'm very anxious. I can't wait. It's so many big fights to be made in the 135-pound division. Um, Huge fights. I'm anxious to get back. I cannot wait. And I just want to show the world, that I'm the best 135 pounder out there.
Mhm. You've talked about these guys as kind of your rivals in the sport. If you look at all the names I just mentioned, who's your biggest rival? Who do you look at as the guy that's the guy that is like my nemesis?
I think Ryan Garcia. I mean, that's the fight that the fans would love to see. We're both 21 years old. We're both, making crazy noise. We fought in amateurs multiple times. Everything just adds up. It makes it a huge fight.
Tell me about the amateur fights because when you were in the ring afterwards with Ryan, I kind of brought it up, and Ryan had said he won all the fights against you. He beat you every single time in the amateur ranks. What actually happened?
I said that I beat him every time.
Oh, okay, all right, sorry, yeah. So what's the truth there?
I beat him every time.
Every time. I think he said you split, right? Like he was like 3-3 or something like that.
Don't believe anything he says.
What were those fights like in the amateurs?
No, every fight was competitive. None of the fights were easy. Um, Ryan has always been good, so that's why I'm not surprised with the noise that he's making. And the people that ask me about him, I always say that he's good. I've always said that because I know that his skill set, he's crazy amateur experience, um, crazy amount of national titles. I knew one day he would be big.
Mm. When you watch, your fight with Antonio Moran was about a year ago, and that was a knockout of the year type of fight right there where you put Moran down, and you got a lot of momentum off of that. And similarly, Ryan, one of the big reasons he's got the momentum now is that the 2 knockouts he had first round spectacular. Do you, as a young fighter, do you learn even more about kind of the value of a spectacular knockout in making yourself a bigger star?
Yeah, the fans at the end of the day, they love knockouts.
Mm.
There's no way around it. You can show 12 rounds of superior boxing, but it's nothing like a knockout. So you go in there, you knock a guy out, you gain fans. There's no way around it.
Does that make you change at all your strategy going into fights, thinking like, all right, I can coast a little bit and get a big decision, or I can take a couple of chances and go in there and get that big knockout?
Yeah, of course. You want to go in there, you want to take the chances to get the knockout, but you just got to know your opponent. Not every fight is going to be a knockout. Not every fight is going to be pretty, but it's about getting the win. More importantly.
Yeah, no question. The last few months while you've been out, I mean, you've found yourself in a little bit of controversy with the comments about I'll never lose to a white fighter. What happened there? What did you mean to say, and what did you kind of learn from all that?
I mean, the correct thing was to say that, I wouldn't lose to anybody, and you live and you learn. I'm young, and I understand what I said wasn't the correct thing to say, but at the end of the day, I feel like I won't lose to anyone, any fighter.
Were you surprised at how much that blew up? Were you surprised how big a deal that became?
Yeah, well, I was surprised to how the world was trying. Well, some of the fans were trying to portray me uh, as someone that was racist, which is not the case at all. My siblings are half white, half black. Come on now, like my younger brother and sister. My uh my stepmom is white. Like, come on now. So it was just crazy too. My whole team is diverse. I don't discriminate. I'm not racist at all. So that was definitely surprising. I didn't expect that at all. But what can you do about it?
Mm-hmm. So I asked you about, Eddie Hearn, if Eddie Hearn called you and said be ready to go. There's a pretty good chance that whenever you fight again, there won't be crowds in the building. How do you feel about that? I mean, are you going to be comfortable going into a fight if it's on a sound stage somewhere with only a handful of people in attendance?
Yeah, that would be crazy. That would be crazy. Of course, I'm willing to fight. If I had to fight in the backyard, I would. I'm a fighter. I love to fight. Just like sparring. It would be like sparring. It would feel somewhat like sparring, but for the money and for it's going to go on paper. But I feel like I may fight better. You never know. We just got to see. But I'm willing to fight wherever it is. I'll be willing to fight anybody.
I'm going to tell Sergio to stop, dumping on you, because you can probably hear him when he says stuff like that, and when you're in the ring. Has Eddie told you anything about your immediate future, what he's kind of planning for you?
Well, I talked with Eddie Hearn today, and we definitely have some big fights on our agenda. We're trying to make the biggest fights possible. Of course, with this pandemic, we don't know when it may happen or when it will happen. But when the time comes, big fights are on our agenda for sure.
Mm-hmm. Has he told you when to expect to come back?
No, not really, not necessarily. We're just waiting to see. When nobody knows nothing. He doesn't know when it will happen. Looking at sometime maybe July, but we don't know.
Do you think that you mentioned not being able to spar. Do you think you could train for a fight if you couldn't spar during the training?
I mean, I see me. I have a gym in my house, so I can make that. You know, that could be where I spar and stuff like that. But I feel like anybody can spar. If you have you can spar outside if you needed to. You know, it doesn't
Mm,
matter. You know, you can make sparring. You know, anywhere.
mm. You could bring your dad in as your sparring partner.
Not necessarily. I mean, you just gotta have some trusted, sparring partners. You gotta know that they're, safe, that they're being safe, and they don't, they're healthy, 100% healthy. But you can make sparring anywhere. I
Who's
mean,
going?
over there to
Who's
your,
going more? Go ahead.
make them over there to your kitchen. We may have a sparring session right there in your kitchen.
I don't think I can get down to your weight class, man. I'm trying to hit cruiserweight right now. I'm just trying to stay at that cruiserweight limit there. You know, it's tough. Who's going crazier right now? You or your father during this pandemic?
Me for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, every day I'm like checking to see if they made like an announcement if they're gonna let Vegas, like if they're gonna let us go out and stuff like that. Like every day I'm checking it. I can't wait.
Mm.
I'm so bored of my house. Like I can't deal with myself.
I hear you, man. Well, Devin, hopefully we get you back in the ring real soon. Stay safe out there in California, and thanks for joining me here on the show.
You stay safe as well.